Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us here on the Noon News. I'm Samantha Sullivan. Prosecutors allege the driver of a flatbed truck who struck and killed a Montana Department of Transportation employee had been huffing canned air prior to the crash. This morning, 28-year-old Ethan Anderson pled not guilty to felony vehicular homicide and criminal endangerment following the October 24th crash that killed a Billings man. Court documents state authorities found dust off, a compressed air product often used to clean keyboards and other electronics, in Anderson's truck. The product contains a substance often used to get high. Anderson was driving a work flatbed truck when he drove through a construction project at South Billings Boulevard and Interstate 90. 52-year-old Jeff Dykeman was working in the area at the time of the crash. He was struck and pinned by the flatbed truck. He died at the scene. A Helena man is dead after his car was hit by a train Monday morning in Hardin. According to the Montana Highway Patrol, around 8 o'clock, a 50-year-old Helena man failed to stop for an oncoming train. Authorities say the man was talking to his wife on his cell phone and did not realize a train was coming. The train hit the driver's side of the man's vehicle. He was transported to a Billings hospital where he later died. And authorities have released the name of the person who was found dead after a car fire in the Hungry Horse area. 77-year-old Conrad Peak, who is said to have been a transient, died in the fire on December 8th. Peak was reported to have been living in his car for a few weeks prior to his death. He was last known to be living in Texas. The cause of that fire is still under investigation. In Missoula, the price of forgetting to shovel your snow on your sidewalks is going to go up. Missoula City Council members approved a controversial snow removal fee late last night. The fee will jump from $42 to $150 for those who don't shovel their sidewalks after 2 warnings. Last year, roughly 30 people were actually charged for not shoveling their sidewalks. With the approval, the city will hire a private contractor to shovel the unmoved snow rather than sending a city employee to do the job. While there was limited public comment last night, the council members had a lot of discussion amongst themselves.
We have a lot of seniors in all of Ward 3. There are people, as Jordan said, with mobility issues, and shoveled sidewalks that are clear make it a lot easier for everybody, so there isn't a broken hip or a broken ankle.
There are some streets in the city of Missoula that don't get plowed for 7 days, if ever, because of prioritization and various other things. So I think that it's somewhat hypocritical of us to require by law folks have their sidewalk shoveled by 9 a.m. or if they don't, then after a couple violations they'll be fined. I think that's a lot of folks that rubs them the wrong way. And
in other news this afternoon, the city of Helena will allow a medical marijuana dispensary to continue operating in city limits for at least the next 6 months. A section of code currently prohibits the city from issuing a license to a business that's permitted by state law but federally prohibited, like marijuana. In September, the city annexed an area west of the city limits where a dispensary was already in operation. Last night, commissioners unanimously passed an ordinance to place a moratorium on current city code and allow the dispensary operation to continue while the city further considers amending the code permanently.
I even get a lease for 6 months. I have to sign a year lease and then be prepared to shut it down. I just don't see what that 6-month moratorium really achieves except for continued uncertainty.
There will be lots of time to work out details and concerns from business owners, but this is really about making sure that patients continue to have access, that doesn't go interrupted.
The moratorium will be effective citywide. If another dispensary wants to operate in city limits during the 6-month moratorium, it will be able to do so in the proper zoning district, but they won't be grandfathered in if the city doesn't take action within the next 6 months. And it's a vision that proponents say will transform the economic future of Billings and the entire state of Montana. Last night, Billings City Council got its first look at the final draft plan for the One Big Sky project. MTN's Russ Riesinger was there for the big reveal.
The vision that we have for One Big Sky is considerably more impactful than even what we thought it might be a year ago.
That vision includes 4 core districts in downtown Billings, each with an anchor of its own. A convention center that might look something like this would be the shining star of the entertainment district.
Half to draw tourists and convention goers, in from outside the Montana economy, and half an asset that creates a great anchor in your downtown to support interest from within the community.
Dunn believes many of those out-of-state convention goers would stick around to see more of Montana. The convention center could also be used for festivals, athletic events, or concerts.
Imagine how you could take a venue like this and create maybe the most impactful concert venue in the Mountain States.
Along with making downtown a better place to play or stay, the idea behind the Lifestyle District is to make it a more attractive place to live, with new urban housing, a public market, and more retail choices.
If you've got a vibrant downtown, you will bring an urban grocery. You will bring in retailers like an urban Target.
There's also an education district and a civic and wellness district with plans for a new city hall and commercial office space, a new YMCA, and Billings' ever-expanding hospitals.
Imagine for a minute if you had that convention center, that stock of housing, built above a public or next to a public market, and a civic core to your downtown with things like fitness, wellness, urban retail. Do you think that would have an impact on your interest in moving to Billings?
The folks that are entering the healthcare industry today are very different than those who have been working in the healthcare industry for some time. What they're demanding is much different than we've had in the past. We are excited about the vision for revitalization of our community.
I can see Billings as that great city, that great American city of tomorrow. And I can see it happen, and I can see us doing that.
But to make this vision a reality, One Big Sky not only needs to get city leaders on board for helping foot the bill, but also the state legislature. In Billings, I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.
Now, the plan for One Big Sky will be presented to the public in several open forums beginning on January 4th, with City Council expected to vote on whether or not to adopt it after that. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on the Statewide Noon News. Coming up, Trump's former security advisor will not be sentenced today as planned. More on that story when we come back. But first, some dangerous travel conditions in the western part of the state. Ed has that and more in the full forecast coming up right after the break.
You're watching MTN News with Samantha Sullivan. Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and farm and ranch news from the Northern Ag Network. This is the noon news on Q2, Montana's news leader.